Let's just jump right into it. Today's title is Benjamin Netanyahu versus free speech. On the last video, I talked about Benjamin Netanyahu announcing a TikTok takeover and speaking with Elon Musk about Twitter. And essentially what he's saying is that he doesn't like what's being said that is about the Israeli government or even Jewish people. And so he wants to put a stop to that. But he's claiming that he's on the right. He has a term called the far right, insinuating that anyone that disagrees with him, the Israeli government, or Israel, or whatever, is akin to a Nazi or a follower of Hitler. And it's absolutely absurd to make that assertion, as if what everyone is saying on the right, this so-called woke right, is wrong. That's the assumption. And so clearly, everything can't be wrong, just like everything can't be right. But anyway, that's his goal. I'll start with that video real quick and then jump right into it.
Okay. You said, we talked about the woke right, and you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich, because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're crazy. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are in social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. Exactly. Very good. And, you know, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now.
So you heard him. And basically what he's saying is, instead of him fighting the fight fairly, which is you have your influencers go against the other influencers, which is how social media should be, since we all say we claim to love freedom and the free market of ideas and all of this. But clearly that's not the case, because you're losing. Now you want to resort to matters that are, in my opinion, unethical and immoral and just evil and wicked. Anybody that wants to suppress free speech is working for Satan. That's just my take on it. At the end of the day, these social media companies are not promoting anti-Semitic content. They're not. These are the same social media companies that were censoring the truth, literally. They still do it. They censor the truth. I'm still shadow banned, had accounts taken down, demonetized, the whole 9 yards, all because I told the truth. And so, and I was labeled a person that was spreading misinformation, just all these things. And so these social media companies didn't do a 180. They didn't all of a sudden say we're going to be fair. No, they just lessened their suppression of the truth. And so now you realize that people don't actually agree, and there are legitimate reasons. Most of the content online about Israel isn't about actual Jewish people. Most of the content is about how the Israeli government is handling what's going on with the Palestinians in Gaza. And so to me, that is a normal critique of any nation. People critique China, people critique Russia, Ukraine, etc. Governments get critiqued. So the fact that you don't want your government to be critiqued is a very problem. a very big problem, especially when most Americans support Israel. So this isn't even a big, like, it's not like the majority of Americans are shifting their views on Israel. It's not the case. The younger generation may have, more of a stronger opinion in critiquing the Israeli government, but most of Americans support Israel. So my question is, how much support do you want? Do you want 85%? Do you want 90%? Or do you want 100%? Because it sounds like you want 100%. If you want 100%, then that means you're nothing but a dictator. But let's continue.
Where you have social media influencers making baseless claims. I worry that this could even get worse. So I think we really need tech platforms to step up and stop, lifting up these intemperate voices. We need elected officials to speak out. Unfortunately, companies like X and Meta have retreated from content moderation in recent months. We are not only talking to the companies themselves, we're talking to the regulators. I mean, I think it is time for government to step up here. These companies...
They've already done that. The government already did that, remember? The government stepped in and they censored the truth. This already happened. So where was the ADL when folks were getting their accounts snatched down? When folks were getting arrested for what they posted on social media? When folks were going to jail for what they posted on social media? That was the truth. Where was the ADL when people were being terrorized on social media by the US government and these social media platforms? Where was Benjamin Netanyahu? Where were these people when all these folks lost so much due to social media censorship? Where were these people then? Where were you all then when that was happening? I'll tell you where you were. You were sitting back, enjoying what was happening. Now, because you have a difference of opinion, now you want to shut everything down. These people are not conservative. These people are the extreme left. Anybody that wants to get rid of free speech is the extreme left. Communism, whatever you want to call them, Marxism, whatever you want to call them, dictatorship, fascism, whatever words you want to give them, that's what they are. These folks were nowhere to be heard of when all that stuff was going on back in 2020, 2021, 2022. My account is still shadow banned. I'm still experiencing it. You know why? Because these social media companies aren't going to lift it. They're not going to have me on a censored list and then take me off. It's not how that works. You'll stay on there forever. You know why? Because these social media sites are a part of this globalist agenda. They're just as communist as the rest of them. But let's continue.
Companies are, they say too big to fail. These companies are too big to just leave alone. Knock the Nazis, knock the anti-Zionists off the platform once and for all.
The simple answer, in my opinion, is social media is wildly out of control and there's too much clickbait in this country. And one of the things I highlighted at Congress in my testimony last week was if we want to protect our youth, we got to get more involved in social media and online platforms.
I want you to think about what they both just said. I want you to think about him saying if someone is against Zionism, that they need to be silenced. And then he calls them Nazis. So if you're against Zionism, that automatically makes you a Nazi, that automatically makes you bad, you got to go. Again, this isn't American. This isn't free speech. And then Kash Patel says, we got to get rid of clickbait if we want to protect our youth. So let me get this straight. You don't believe that your education system is preparing this youth to know the difference between clickbait and a real video? Think about what you're saying. If a person uses clickbait and I click on a video and it's not what the title says, then what happened? Nothing. If you clickbait me to watch the video and it isn't what the title is, that's what clickbaiting is. Clickbait is it's not the title. So if I get clickbaited to a video and it's not the title, what's going to happen? I'm going to realize I got clickbaited. How is that an issue? How is clickbaiting an issue as if the media doesn't clickbait all the time? What I find ironic is Donald Trump was literally taken off Twitter and you all didn't say anything about it. Nobody had a problem with Donald Trump being taken off Twitter. But now that people have an opinion that you don't like, you want them silenced. You know what's crazy? What's crazy is years from now, we're going to revisit this moment in history. And what's going to be crazy is there are going to be people telling the truth about what happened in this moment, but they're going to be labeled all kind of negative things in the future. Even though in real time, what I'm saying is true, what I'm saying 20 years from now, I'm going to be labeled all kind of bad names and bad terms. This is how you know that history is even tainted, because we're living this in real time. And you know, and I know when this time and period is revisited, it is not going to be accurate. We all know this. We all know this.
Extraordinarily conspiratorial in its approach to the world, and sees, forget about Israel, sees Jews as a sort of conspiratorial force in the United States, tries to manifest, tries to claim that all the problems in America are the responsibility of a foreign state or Judaism as religion. And yeah, that's a conspiratorial force inside the right. That's, I think, extremely dark, and it is rising because social media.
But a lot of them were allies is the right word, but I think we're connected with us, right? I mean, a lot of these people are within those circles that you are part of, in a sense.
Yes.
And then, so like, how did they flip?
I mean,
how did that happen?
So, I mean,
they weren't always like that.
I think that, well, some of them were. I mean, I think
Okay.
some of them flipped, some of them were. I think that the social media incentive structures right now are truly terrible. So if you go on X, you're going to get a lot more likes and clicks if you are promoting an anti-Israel, anti-Semitic agenda than if you do the opposite. The same thing is true on TikTok.
So is it a financial thing? Or?
So this is where Ben Shapiro is being dishonest. So if you go back to 2020, and again, this is what I've been doing for quite some time. So I know the censorship, when it started for you having just the reach and influence. Then it went to you making the money, and then it went to the content, the truth, and all that. So it went through phases. So I am well versed in what's going on social media. At the end of the day, if you go back to 2020, people that were going against the narrative, the lies, the propaganda, those accounts became popular. People going against the mainstream narrative, those accounts became popular. So again, supporting Israel isn't a rebellious stance. It is a status quo stance. It is polo shirts. It is khaki pants. It is, so that's not going to gain a lot of traction. Again, it's a normal thing. It's a standard thing to agree with. America supports Israel. That's normal. So that's not going to get a lot of engagement. Duh. What gets the engagement is the counter argument, the counter narrative, and it's always been like that. I've had plenty of videos that went viral on other people's platform because it went against the counter narrative, even when I was just talking about things in Black culture. Those things were still going viral because it was counter the narrative. So this assumption that these social media companies are doing something, they're not. They're just lessening the restrictions. They're lessening the shadow bans. They're taking the reins off, so to speak. And so again, the counter argument is something, not counter argument, but the more popular message is showing people something they never heard before. It's the shock value of it too. Well, I've never heard this. I didn't know this, and this. And so the assumption is that everything that is counter Israel is a lie. That's the assumption. And if you believe that assumption, then you're saying that everything Israel has done and is doing is all right, 100%, and it's true. That's problematic because no nation can make that claim. No government can make that claim. No people can make that claim. But that's the claim being made, that anybody going against Israel in any kind of way is wrong, which means Israel is all in the right, or always right, or all right. But it's sounding like they might be the right, because the response to a level playing field, and it's not even level, the response to a playing field that has been semi-leveled is problematic. Anybody against free speech is not an American. They are not a patriot. They are working for Satan, because the suppression of free speech leads to you can't speak the gospel. That's what it's for. It's going to lead to you can't spread God's word.
I think some of it's financial. I think some of it is that these people tend to believe in a lot of conspiracy theories about how the world works. And virtually every conspiracy theory, at the end of it, unfortunately, is a Jew. Because where all the conspiracy theories go to is, and then who's successful, right? And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on
that was always our problem.
Well, right. So
we're good.
Well, so the
right, like we succeeded.
I mean, if you are on the left, then you say there are people in society who have benefited from our systems of power. Who are the people who are well educated and rich? Disproportionately, a lot of Jews are well educated and rich. Therefore, Jews are the bad guy. And you see a sort of horseshoe argument that's happening from the right, where the idea is that there are a lot of very wealthy, powerful, rich people in American society who are Jewish, and therefore they're in control of all the things I don't like. No, never mind that that's actually not even statistically true. The vast majority of powerful bankers in the United States are not Jewish. The vast majority of people in Hollywood are not only not Jewish, they're also not pro-Israel. Forget about any of that. The important thing is the conspiracy.
So now again, everything he's saying can be verified. So you don't have to take his word for it or my word for it. You can go look up who runs media companies, who runs the banks, and make your own assessment on that. I did a video a couple of years ago on the who runs media. Out of the 5 major media companies, 4.5 of the CEOs were Jewish. It's just a fact. That doesn't mean that Jewish people run Hollywood. That just means that 4.5 of the owners of the 5 major media companies in the world were Jewish. That's not anti-Semitic, it's just true. But that doesn't mean that they run the world. It means that, like he said, they are overly represented, and they are in certain industries. But that's not my point. My point is that, again, every conspiracy about the world doesn't go to Jews. That may be the most popular ones, but the Catholics, the Pope, have gotten a bad rap. People still say the Catholics, Antichrist, Pope, Antichrist, world religion. I've heard conspiracy theories about the Catholics creating Islam. I've heard conspiracy theories about the Jews creating Islam. I've heard conspiracy theories about Islam giving birth to the Antichrist. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. We've talked about aliens, talked about lizard people. Like, there are a lot of conspiracies out there, a lot of them. And if you look at most of your hardcore conspiracy theorists, they go beyond human beings. They go beyond Jews and Catholics. So again, Jews aren't the only ones that are looked at as being conspiracy. At the end of every conspiracy theory is Jewish people. That's not true. It's just not. Now, why is it so popular now? Well, obviously because America is so closely tied to the Jews. I guarantee if America was this closely tied to China, all of it would go to China. I know that the global agenda said that the Chinese citizens are the global model for citizenship. How China runs its country is the global model for how they want the world to run. Are they part of the conspiracy theory? So again, when we talk about a real conspiracy theories, they go beyond Jews and Catholics and all that. So I'm just saying. So my point is that people have difference of opinion about what's going on, but we can't act like it's just grabbed out of thin air, because America has a close relationship with Israel as far as military, territory, geopolitics, regime change. I guess there's very much close ties with Israel. We know this. There are a lot of people that are Jewish in our government. So these aren't conspiracy theories that's out of thin air. So he's trying to play down the significance of what people are saying. But again, it doesn't mean what they're saying is true, but also it doesn't mean it's also malicious either. It doesn't mean that just because someone disagrees with you, that they are trying to bring on about another Holocaust or eradicate you. We have to be honest in the conversation.
And that's being promoted, unfortunately, day and night by a certain contingent inside the right, and it's growing, because conspiratorialism right now is an incredibly sexy pitch, particularly for young people who are being told that the problems in their own life are not their fault, and they can be solved by sort of externalizing those problems onto a different group. So yes, I mean, I'm worried about it. I think it's a real problem, and I don't think it's relegated only to the left.
And I will say this: I don't agree with anybody blaming anybody for the problems in their life. I don't. So you have problems in your life because of the decisions and choices that you make. At the end of the day, though, we know that we do live in a system, though, that deals with manipulation. We know this. And so, again, we can't just act like there isn't something going on that's funny. And again, I've seen this with social media, where they say it's a social media platform where you can express your ideas and your views, and next thing you know, you're in jail for it. So again, we can't act like that these conspiracy theories are all not true. And again, I'm not saying that we blame anybody for our problems, but we also don't cast a broad brush and say that every conspiracy theory is a lie, which is a lie in itself, because we literally live in a conspiracy theory right now, especially for me in my life, literally since 2020.
About the wrong things. We should not be fighting about everything that we're fighting about, and we should put that all aside, and we need to fight about three main things. Freedom of speech. Without freedom of speech, we have no ability to litigate anything in the public square. Chemicals in our food, we're being sterilized. We are all being sterilized. So wherever you stand on pro-life, pro-choice, we're fighting about that. But you know what? There's not even going to be an ability to have babies in the next not that very much time. And the digital ID, digital dollar, digital CBDC currency, that's a digital slave system, total totalitarian control. So we need to put aside everything we're fighting about: Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, the border, abortion, trans rights, racism. Stop it. We need to come together on these three things: freedom of speech, digital IDs, poisoning us. And that is all that we should be focused on. Everything else is meant to divide us so we don't see what is coming at us so fast that we don't know what's happening. So stop hating each other, start loving each other, and let's create a coalition to create a better world for our future. If we don't do this, we just keep being distracted and distracted and distracted. We're going to distract ourselves into a future that we cannot get ourselves out of.
So that was Molly. And again, everything she said is true. Now think about the outcome of Israel and Palestine. What difference will it make if at the end of the day, they're going to suppress free speech anyway, digital currency, digital surveillance, digital ID, universal vaccines, and we're being poisoned through the food and through chemicals? What difference does it make what happens with Ukraine and Russia if at the end of it all, we're still going to be ushered into this quote unquote human slavery? So again, this is how I'm telling you all that all this stuff is a distraction. At the end of the day, what difference does it make if at the end of the day, we are under digital surveillance 24 hours a day? We have the money, our money connected to our biometrics. The property taxes are being raised up every year. There's poison in the food, poison in the air, poison in the water. And on top of all that, when all that's happening, we don't have the ability to even express ourselves, because once free speech goes, the Second Amendment is next. So I'm telling you all of this stuff is a distraction, and all of these things going on right now are a part of a design to usher us into this one world beast system that'll be ran by the Antichrist. That's why all this stuff is a distraction. That's why I don't listen to any of it, because I know at the end of the day, the devil is still sitting there licking his chops because he still wants our souls. Thank you.